talking about crypto yesterday. I think I have a little bit better grasp on it.
I don't want to talk about crypto.
I know that, but I just want to start off with that.
So, did you start?
I did.
Oh, okay. See how you are.
There's a good blooper in there. I don't want to talk about that. You could use that right.
Okay.
Wait, ever again, right?
No, that's right.
3, 2.
Good morning, crew. You are back with us, and we are at the lovely home of Mr. Dave here, who has been very kind and generous with his time. And this is the original lovely abode of Mr. R. Nelson Nash, and we are privileged to be here with his protege. I don't know if I want to call him that, but the new brilliant mind of this whole endeavor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Nice being here. You know, I guess I'm more of Nelson's alter ego.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I'm the sine wave up down. Together we made one complete being. No, so whenever I go somewhere, I'm typically introduced as Nelson's son-in-law, which really makes me feel special.
Yeah,
because it's like, hey, I got a life too. No, I'm David Stearns. I own Infinite Banking Concepts LLC. I'm also a co-director of the Nelson Nash Institute. Mm-hmm. And great to be here with you today.
Thank you.
I understand that we're going to talk about IBC exclusively.
Yes.
And I'll just share some of my insights with it and how I was exposed to it, what I personally do, and what my mission in life is.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and we can Q&A if you want to, or I can just start going off at the mouth. But I am an advocate, obviously, of IBC because Nelson forced me to do life insurance in 1979. He forced me to.
Right.
And we can explore that a little bit later on. And I mean, IBC didn't exist in 79. Didn't exist until probably in 96 or 97. But I got forcibly introduced to life insurance. And that was my experience. And that taught me a valuable lesson, and something that I keep in mind today, because most folks don't like the word life insurance, and they can't afford it. They think they can't afford it, and they don't want to pay premiums. But guess what? If somebody forces you to, then it gets nothing but better and better and better and better and better.
It does.
So anyway, I met Nelson in 79, and I bought my first policy 48 hours before I married his daughter.
The proverbial shotgun wedding, only in a different form.
Yeah. And so I tell that story is all over the internet and all over YouTube, whatever. But that was my introduction to him. And so I bought a policy which doesn't exist anymore. We 1035'd it, which means we exchanged it for another policy using the cash surrender value as the cost basis for funding a new policy. But anyway, so I met Nelson, and he was a life insurance agent. And if you read Becoming Your Own Banker, which is, our gospel, then he tells his story. We all know how he started as a forester. We all know that he moved to Birmingham with an idea of becoming a bigger forester, but he didn't get along with the individual he's working with. So he quit and went into the life insurance industry because he always had an affinity for life insurance. And his brother was a State Farm agency owner. Mm-hmm. And so that was his personal experience with him. And so he saw his brother do it and whatever. He just for some reason, Nelson liked life insurance. It just felt like the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And so when he got down here in Birmingham and he found himself unemployed, he got hired by the local Equitable agency. And back then, most of the life insurance construct was agency models. Like Guardian, New York Life, Northwestern Mutual, Equitable. And so he was hired as Equitable, and they had a training program. They had an agency owner. So it was a very formal, organization. So he learned how to do it the right way, and he had all kinds of support and leadership and whatever. So that set him in the right path. But anyway, so first policy I got from him was the Equitable policy. He was still with them. And
that's neat.
When they demutualized, though, in 1990, I think it was, when it was a big craze to demutualize, and because the life insurance industry, from my perspective, was embarrassed about what they were doing because they didn't know how to defend their product set. Starting in the late '80s or the mid '80s, when the federal government decided to help everybody with their retirement plans by hooking up with Wall Street and with the ERISA stuff going on. Remember that?
We know how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah,
so Nelson moved on from Equitable after they demutualized because he said, "You guys are going to ruin the company." Of course, they did.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people's finances. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I was a life insurance customer. I was never, and I'm still not, a licensed life insurance agent, which means I'm not contracted with any carriers. I started working with Nelson after I retired from the military, and because he needed help, he was a one-man show, and he was doing seminars. He wrote his book, and people started buying it like crazy. So I helped him with all that, and then I just over the course of the years, I just picked up more and more and more. And anyway, and Nelson passed in 2019, and so we've been running it ever since he moved on. So, but again, we rely upon our IBC practitioners to talk life insurance.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So, and we teach them how to implement IBC within the life insurance construct.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I like to talk about it as process versus platform. You ever heard that?
Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
I mentioned. I've heard that mentioned before.
Yeah.
I like that.
To me, that really sets the conditions: process versus platform. Because and the reason I mention that is because if you go to YouTube now, at least half the IBC talk on YouTube is wrong. Okay, big time wrong, because they're focusing on the platform, number one. And I'm not even going to go down the road about the wrong platform.
Okay.
But is focused on policy design. Okay, it's all about policy design. It's all about, oh, look how much cash surrender value can I get you in year one with X number of dollars in premium, versus somebody who says, okay, what do you really understand about creating your own banking system? Why do you want to create your own banking system? How do you plan on using it? What is your end goal? It could be college funding, it could be retirement, it could be real estate investment, it could be a place to store any kind of wisdom, anything. Yeah, get out of debt. But I mean, what's the starting point? Where do you want to go with this? It's not about, okay, I want to buy a policy, I can afford $1,000 a month, shop around, give me the biggest cash surrender value. Boom. That's not what it's about. Yeah. Okay, and that's the focus. And one of our guys, he coined the phrase, it's not IBC, it's creative policy design is the big rage. So
the platform to you means?
Platform means the platform that you implement banking on. Okay. Banking is how you control the flow of your capital, the flow of your money. Okay. And so money in, money out, money in, money out, uninterrupted compounding, pay yourself for use of your money by paying interest back to the insurance company for policy loans. And if you construct the policy correctly, you can pay additional monies into the policy in the form of additional premium, which will overfund. Again, I'm not an insurance salesman. Overfund the policy and grow it even more. So that's the process. The platform is, if you don't construct the policy or system of policies correctly, then it's not going to work as designed, and you can find yourself in a situation where you can have tax implications. Yeah. You can have the inability to use the policy because it could possibly turn into a modified endowment contract, which is a different type of policy where any kind of distribution from that policy is taxable in a modified endowment contract environment.
Well, we certainly don't want that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this happens all the time out there. And, unfortunately, a lot of these YouTube channels are hosted by life insurance salespeople. And what's their motive? Their motive is to sell life insurance.
That's right.
Okay, so they have to make it very attractive, and and some of them, say the wrong thing. Some of them don't know what they're talking about, and some of them use the wrong product set, whatever. So our goal here at the Nelson Nash Institute is to set the baseline for IBC. What does it really look like? And there's no one policy design, okay, that works. You've got to do it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you look at Nelson's book, he has 5 or 6 case studies in that book, and every one of them, the policy design is different.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't do it because, okay, for college funding, it's got to be this policy design. He did it that way so he could demonstrate how the money flows through these things and how you can use them. And so to make his point clear on case study number 1, he picked that 60-40 PUA ratio to base ratio that way so he could replicate a conventional financing package from a third-party lender. Okay. And so he could show people how it would really work in that environment. Okay. So anyway, long story short is we advocate IBC, the infinite banking concept, registration mark circle, as a place to store your money. Okay, a starting point for your money. And we talk about IBC in the form of buying permanent whole life insurance policies, multiple policies. Everybody should have it because everybody needs a death benefit. Everybody does. I don't care if you're got a bunch of little kids or you're 75 years old.
Right.
You need that because that's another thing we can talk about later on. You need that, number 1. Number 2 is, if you do this correctly, it's a great place to save money because it forces you to save money in the form of premium paying and also overfunding. So everybody needs that. And then, oh, by the way, everybody has a need for finance. Nelson says in IBC that everybody has a need for finance. Everybody pays for the use of money. Either they pay for use of somebody else's money or they lose interest in saving their own money on the other side of it. So that's what we advocate. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, you know, we talked about, you know, the mutual insurance company thing and the demutualization a few minutes ago, but you got to understand that there's not that many mutual insurance companies left anymore. But as a policy owner, you're a mutual owner of that policy, that company.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean you're going to get a huge dividend because the company's doing so great, but it's what the beauty about the mutual insurance construct is they're so stable and so conservative that you don't have stockholder or shareholder meetings that will change something because they're not satisfied with the performance of the company. They run those companies on 20-year cycles so they can have a predictive growth.
The beauty of that is in that, okay, you go to get a loan from your own bank where you have a bank account, and does B of A ever give you a dividend? No. No, they're not going to do that for us.
No.
So you're actually a part owner in a small degree.
In a small sense. I mean, you get a proxy vote every year, you know, but I mean, nobody, I mean, you don't go vote for the, you know, the
change the world.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, you share in profits of the company to some degree. And another misunderstood thing, I'll just talk about this real quickly, is dividends. Sure. I'm sure you covered dividends in your channel before. We do. You know, a mutual insurance company dividend or insurance company dividend period, whether it be a mutual stockholder, it's not even though it's generated from a profit standpoint, it's not taxable because it's simply a return of premium dollars, right? Which is a you know, pretty nice, you know,
huge benefit.
Huge benefit.
Yeah.
And especially if you use it correctly, if you invest that dividend back into the policy by buying additional paid up insurance.
Love it.
And it's a huge benefit. Yeah.
So in your, wow, gosh, that's what, 20 years of you seeing people come and go. What you mentioned 2 or 3 times in there, and it really sticks with me because what I really want to do with my channel and the people that follow my channels is I want the true source of this. The book was so inspirational to me. I was telling your lovely wife, I've been in economics my entire life. It's been one of my passions. That's what I like to do, study where money goes and where it came from. This book was revolutionary for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never read Practical Logic. All these economists, they want to write these great, thesis out of university about this mathematical equation, and everybody's asleep by page 5. This short 90 pages. How many years do you were for the whole process? I know he put his whole life kind of into that book.
Yeah.
But it was practical experience because it comes out on the page, jumps right off the page into your mind as like,
Right.
wow, I got this.
Yeah.
He was that guy, obviously.
Yeah.
What part of that is rubbed off on you? Is that, or all of us to some degree, obviously, but it's
remember I was alter ego, right? So
right. Yeah. Yeah.
no, it's it's. I mean,
are you as practical as he was, or maybe more so?
No, I guess what's rubbed off on me was, I think, the consistency of the message, because Nelson never varied in what he said.
Love that.
He didn't sit down one day and start writing a book. Okay, what he did was he sold life insurance, and he was an Austrian economist, amateur guy.
My man.
And he saw what was going on in the marketplace with business owners and farmers and foresters, how they were relying upon government subsidies and whatnot, and he couldn't understand why they had that mindset. And so somebody gave him a book by Leonard Reed, and he read that and said, "Where'd you get this from? Is this a secret stash somewhere?" Anyway, so he started figuring out what's really going on in the marketplace, and so he educated himself and became an advocate for freedom, economic education. And he hosted Leonard Reed down here in Birmingham once a year for a group of people, and so Leonard was his mentor. So he really understood what was going on in the marketplace, Austrian economics versus Keynesian economics. So he applied that to his life insurance business. And so he looked at the products that he had and he said, this is a perfect way that people can use this thing. Of course, if you go back to the book, you got the situation where he had his heart problem. He had a financial setback in the real estate market. All the stuff he talked about. His granddaughter had cancer, and so he really got in some deep prayers. And he realized, well, wait a minute, this is what I've been preaching. Controlling your own economic destiny. So I got this. So that's what really launched it for him. But he always really knew the answer, because he studied this stuff from an economic standpoint. And like I said, he just had an affinity for whole life insurance. And anyway, so you want to guess what year it was when he bought his first policy? How old he was?
I don't know. No clue.
13 years old.
Wow.
His father bought a New York life policy on him when he was 13, and it was $1,000 death benefit. And then another one when he was 16. And then we got married. And we have those policies still. We have the paper copies of them.
That's amazing.
And then when he got married to his wife, Mary, she was 18 or 19. So he went to the same New York life agent. They bought one on her before they got married.
Yeah.
And so, who buys a life insurance policy? He couldn't buy it at 13 and 16. His dad did, but he wanted it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. His father was a sharecropper. Okay. He didn't have any money.
Right. Yeah.
He was like just a working kind of guy.
So the math made sense to him immediately.
He just got it. He saw that the capital.
One of my favorite parts about the man, I wish I could have met him, but he didn't want to just get rich selling policies. He saw the power that it gave people, and then divined. I don't know, whatever we all want to believe in, but the man was a spiritual man, and the man put that. You could see it in the book, you can hear it in the book, you can feel it in the book, that he was like, this isn't all me. This is sort of coming to me because I've seen so many people need this and then that and then this. Yeah. And it's so diverse that it's like, when he wrote the book, you can tell he must have been in an incredible place at that time
Well, he started doing seminars. He was a leader in his insurance agency. I showed you that paper where he was an outstanding freshman.
It was so neat. I should take a photo of it.
He kept us. They wanted to make him like, they put him in a leadership role, and he didn't like that. Even though they made him an assistant manager or whatever, he said, "No, I don't want to do this. I want to be an independent producer." But what he would do is he'd see a problem, college funding, okay, and he'd see that and see how people were like, getting involved in these federal government college funding programs, squirreling their money away they couldn't touch, and then hopefully the projected amount was what it needed to be to pay for college, and then once you paid for it, it's all gone. So that was a problem. He saw that, so he applied that to what was going on, and then he saw and if you look at Becoming Your Own Banker, 1/3 of that book is about the human condition.
Yeah,
okay?
I love that
because that's the fundamental problem right there. It wasn't finance; it was the human condition is the fundamental problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he got that from Mises. Okay, human action, right? Human action. So anyway, that's how he formed the book and formed the case studies. They're focused on financial problems and how this could solve those problems. You can maintain control of your cash flow. But he, like I said, he didn't sit down and write the book. What he did was he was doing leadership training in his agency, and he and his partner they train people in leadership stuff like that. Like Larry Wilson had a training program. They learned how to do that. And so when he started really understanding how he wanted to teach his clients how to use these policies that he was setting them up with, he said, "Okay, I need to have a formal kind of a prescription to teach them how to do this." And so when I went to the first seminar he ever did, the first seminar I ever went to was here in Birmingham. And so we're driving downtown, and he's got a box with him. And he gets down there, and he puts the box on the table, and there's a overhead projector view graph thing.
Yeah, I remember.
So he turns it on, and he introduces himself and starts talking, and starts rifling through these VGTs. VGT, you know what that stands?
No.
Those are transparent slides.
Oh,
and you put them on top of the projector.
I remember
we were in high school.
Yeah,
they put them in there right over math
clear
problem.
sheet, and you could.
So he goes, boom. Oh, that's the wrong one. And he goes, boom, 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 boom. It's like I'm sitting there going, I can't believe he's doing this.
Very analog.
And this is like 2000. And so after the end of that seminar, I said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna buy you a laptop, and I'm gonna create some PowerPoint slides for you. He goes, what's that? Right.
You're the innovator.
So that's how I got involved with him doing that. But anyway, so he when he did these seminars, he kind of like trial and error, and he got it where he wanted it, and it ended up being 10 hours, which is a long time for a seminar. And so
I'd give a lot of money to listen to that live right now.
No, I keep bouncing off it, but I'm thinking of stuff. People would raise their hand and say, "Can we have a pee break?" Because he just go and go and go and go, and people would be going.
I've been accused.
It's been 2 hours. Can we stop for a minute?
Yeah. I've been accused of putting people to sleep. Actually,
So what he did was, he had a seminar, and it was all built on the slides and whatnot. And then he sat down and said, "Okay." And somebody said, "Listen, you can't talk to everybody in the country. It ain't going to happen. So you need to write this down." So he put all his notes together and this and that and that. And self-published the book.
Yeah.
And then we first edition, second edition, third edition. Then I came along, and I kind of edited the fourth edition.
Oh,
yeah. And I'm the guy that took his picture off the front of the book and put it on the back of the book.
Oh boy!
And put the safe dial on the front.
Yeah.
And it's like he wasn't happy about that. But
can't blame a man for that.
Okay,
right?
go to Amazon and buy a third edition. It's a big picture of Nelson in the middle of third edition.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at the third edition, the books moved, the chapters moved around a little bit too. But yeah, so that was my contribution. I put the safe dial. I didn't design a safe dial. Somebody, one of our graphic guys did that. But it was like,
and you brought him into the tech world. the laptop.
Yeah, hey
That's
man,
huge.
PowerPoints, man. Wow,
That's
watch
a
this.
big
You
step.
click a button and that can of peas will move right across the screen, man. from the front door to the back door.
Yeah. So we're really kind of a human element on this channel as much as we possibly can. Just what was he like to travel with? Let me ask you this. I want this to be a two-part thing. I don't want this just to be about Nelson. I want to hear about Dave.
Oh.
What was Dave's experience with that whole thing?
with the seminar thing?
Just traveling with him in the seminars and setting it all up and just working hand in hand with.
Well, I didn't set the seminars up.
Somebody else.
No, he would have insurance agents contact him and say, "Hey, listen, my name is John Smith, and I live in Greenville, South Carolina, and I have an insurance agency. And I read your book, I love it. Can you come up and do a seminar from the agency?" He said, "Absolutely,
I'll be there tomorrow." Yeah,
and it was like and they'd coordinate the date, and he had a set fee, and if it was within driving range, you just load up and drive up there, and what the thing about him though. He just didn't walk into, I've seen this before from other people. You hire them to do something, they show up 5 minutes before they do it, and then they're gone.
Gone, yeah.
No, Nelson would get there, and he would say, "Let's go out and have dinner. Let's do this." They go to his they take him to his house. He'd meet their kids. He started talking to their kids and stuff, and they'd be blown away. And he'd spend time with these people, and he'd love them, and he'd talk to them. And whatever, so that's him. That ain't me. So talking about me, okay.
Well, that's kind of more like me. Actually, I love people.
He made people feel really special. He really did. And I mentioned this to you yesterday. We were sitting in a restaurant, and somebody would buy him a meal because they recognized him.
Knew who he was.
Whatever, yeah. But and so if he figured out who that was, he'd just like put him in his contact list. Yeah. And if he's traveling to a seminar, it would be. He'd say, "Yeah, I know these people live close by," and you call them up and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. You want to get together and talk about something, whatever." And so he always stayed in contact with people. And he always loved people, and he loved to travel. He really did. I mean, he absolutely loved it, and he liked to explore new things. And I have another story for you, but I don't know if I should go there or not. Bill,
no, come on, let's get the good ones.
Remind me about a travel story that he had that. I don't think I've ever told this one on YouTube before, but
let's hear it. We got all day.
Well,
I mean, unless there's something personal in there, and you're like, nothing.
Well, he was sick, and I took him to the hospital. He had like 103 or 4 degree temperature, I went to his house. He had an appointment to go see the doctor about something, and I was going to take him to the hospital. I went over there, and he's like laying on the couch, and I touched his arms like, "Oh my gosh." And he was like, and so I took him in there and called him, "Hey, we're coming in." And so his family practice guy came over and said, "Man, you have an infection. You're sick." And he asked him a series of questions to try to diagnose what type of infection it was. And he asked Nelson, "Are you having a hard time breathing?" He goes, "No." But other couple of questions he said yes to. So the doctor prescribed a certain type of antibiotic for him, and he admitted him to the hospital. Well, Nelson said, "I'm taking a trip like next week.
Yeah.
And I got to get out of the hospital." And the trip he was taking was one of his best clients wanted to take him on a cruise, because they had clients that were in several different stops, and so they wanted to take Nelson on this cruise and hit these clients. And Nelson had never been to that part of the world before, so he said, "I'm definitely going. Yep, we're going." Anyway, he was in the hospital, and he was sick.
Yeah.
And so he was in the hospital for like, I don't know, 2 days maybe, and they went back and they realized that he had pneumonia.
Oh boy, that doesn't go away overnight.
But they were treating him for something else.
Oh.
And so the doctor said, "How come you didn't tell us X, Y, Z?" He goes, "Well, you didn't ask me." But what he was really mad about,
the details.
What he was really mad about, because the antibiotics weren't working. Okay, so he's in the hospital with pneumonia, and he looked at me and said, "Okay, call up this agent and tell him
Yeah.
I'm in the hospital, but I'm still going. And he goes, I've heard about this medical insurance, like MedJet. I don't know if
Yeah,
MedJet.
yeah.
See if you can get me one of them policies. Okay. Because I'm going.
Yeah.
I said, Nelson, man, I said, you got a heart condition, number one. Number two, you have pneumonia. Number three is they're not going to release you anytime soon. And so he was really mad at the doctors because they misdiagnosed his condition.
Screwed him up.
Anyway, so I went to several of the different MedJet type of websites. And if you're over 80, you don't qualify. If you have a medical condition, you don't qualify. If you're currently sick, you don't qualify. So it's like, Nelson, I don't think we can get you with the MedJet things, man.
It's probably not going to happen. Yeah.
And so I said, you want me to call that agent and cancel it for you, or are you going to do it? He goes, oh, because he loves to travel, and he's like, he's going to explore this new part of the world. And it's like he was so mad.
He's got to see his people.
Because he couldn't go.
Yeah.
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 So anyway, so he got out of the hospital. He was fine after that, but still, he was
the only trip he probably ever missed. Probably.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he loved traveling, man. And when he used to carry a camera around with him all the time, took pictures all the time, and the carousel slide racks. We got boxes of those.
Yeah, the slides.
But when he realized that this thing had the better camera than any camera he owned, he was in seventh heaven, man. Yeah,
weren't we all? Yeah.
Pictures. But anyway, so
pictures of the places, people,
everything.
Yeah.
He was a nature guy too, because he was a forester. So he loved nature.
Yeah.
And he just, when you go out to your neck of the woods out there,
yeah,
man, oh man,
he'd be all over.
He was all over that.
Yeah,
just
me too.
Like crazy.
It's outdoors. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how do I work into that? I don't do seminars. But
yeah, but you've done a bunch with him, right?
Well,
over the years.
I didn't stand up and speak next to him, no, but I was with him, and I kind of facilitated the things and whatnot.
Sure.
But I was basically, if you think about the Army vernacular, I was the executive officer and he was the battalion commander.
Got it.
So I was doing everything behind the scenes to make him look good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
They got all the credit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We know how that goes. Yeah.
No, but Nelson, again, going back to him, I know you want to talk about me, but
no, I do actually, because you're the new legacy.
No, but he's like, actually, I'm trying to groom my daughter to be the new legacy.
Yeah.
She started working with me in February, and so she's on board. And that's a slow progression, though. And
obviously, being the granddaughter, right?
Yeah.
Does she have Nelson traits in her? Does she want to travel?
I think
meet people.
I think my wife has got the more Nelson traits than anybody I know.
Yeah. You got the pleasure of meeting her earlier.
She's
lovely
like,
lady.
She's like him, just like.
Yeah.
She gets something in her gun sights, and then she goes after it.
So your daughter's a little bit more like you, or a combination, obviously.
Yeah, I think she's got some. She'll do really well with it,
So the Institute's in good hands.
Yeah,
going forward.
Yeah. Well, I got my co-director Carlos Lara. He's still intimately involved in everything we do, but we have a lot going on. We've got a lot of membership. We interview people to become practitioners every week. Okay. Yeah. And we're growing our membership. We have an annual conference called the Think Tank every year. And, this year we're planning on 500 people attending.
Wow.
That's our goal.
Great.
Our goal.
Wow. Yeah.
And last year we had 300, 2-day event. And so it's great. And we're starting something new, a quarterly coaching academy for our membership, where we can spend 2 days with them and help them really understand the nuances of becoming your own banker, so they can use it to keep their clients between the ditches, on the straight path, number one. And number two, they can use that book to overcome objections.
Yeah.
Because that book will overcome any objection about life insurance or about privatized banking. That one book will do that if you know how to use it correctly.
The one thing I've noticed is I've known about life insurance and policies for many years of my life. But the one thing I'm really noticing, the more true Nashers, if you will, that I'm noticing is they do seem to really resonate with his passion for people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not about, well, I want to get 50 agents under me and I want to get this empire. I want to build this empire, which is pretty much what the world is today. Like, no matter what the product is, it just seems like everyone's, well, you're nobody if you're not at the top.
Yeah.
And everybody I've met in particular out here, but it's more about, I think there's enough for everybody, but I want to take care of people and I want to be part of your life. I want to know about your grandkids. I want to know about that whole thing. I know it's sort of Southern values as well, a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just noticed that if you care enough about people and their finances, that's one thing. And you sold them a policy. The other thing that I'm really seeing is, like, you're not just selling them a policy, you're teaching them how to bank.
Yeah.
And that's just so big. It's so much bigger than all the other companies. They don't teach that at all.
No,
Yeah.
The life insurance industry's got off the training model pretty exclusively. And like, I went back to his agency. The reason I mentioned about his agency that he first started out with, if he was not in that environment initially where he had structure, training, leadership, then he probably wouldn't have ever continued the life insurance industry. Like, I don't know how he'd do it today if he came in as an independent.
Right.
But you're right. You know, the whole thing about, you know, we talk about process versus platform.
Yeah.
If you don't teach your, I don't even say teach your client. If you don't expose your client to what this is all about and have them really, really take ownership of the problem it solves, okay,
Yeah.
they have to understand the problem, or the solution doesn't make any difference at all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Brilliant.
so once they understand the problem, now the solution is, okay, here's the solution. It's called infinite banking or privatized banking. And so, do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you a responsible individual? No, I'm not, because I got credit card debt. I got a mortgage. I got 3 house payments. I got this. I got this. Okay. Before we implement IBC for you, we're going to put you on a 1-year accountability cycle. This is what you have to do to show me that you're going to be a responsible banker. You know, no. And then you have an accountability meeting once a month.
Yeah.
And they haven't paying you anything. You haven't sold them anything yet, right?
No, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And if they prove to you that they're going to take ownership of the problem, i.e., servicing debt,
Educate themselves.
right?
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, now
Discipline.
we're ready to implement IBC, and then it's not like, okay, here's this brand new policy. It's got all the bells and whistles. This is the construct I put together for you because you can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's going to be flexible.
Yep.
Where if you can put additional capital in it if you have that, you know, this, that, whatever.
Or if you have a down
and
year,
then we can start using it at a certain point here to knock down credit card debt or whatever the problem is for the individual. But the agent is the coach, and they have to take an active interest in their client. So I don't know, you know, I keep thinking about 200 clients, IBC clients, is probably as much as any one individual could probably responsibly handle.
I don't even know how.
I just threw that number out.
I don't want to sell any of it, so I don't even.
No, it's a lot of work.
Oh,
and you know, I'm sure that some of the practitioners that you talk to can give you much more vivid detail on how much work it takes to keep these clients along the path. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so it's right. It's not just
that was
about
such a great breakdown right there. I really like that a lot.
Well, it's not selling a product. It's like that's probably step 3. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
anyway. Or level 3 of some sort. Yeah, I like that.
But you know, but you're going to make mistakes. I mean, everybody. You know, I tell folks, it's like, why? You know, I want to start off with this product, but you know, I don't think this is going to work for me. So I think I'm going to use this thing over here. It's like, just start.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the perfect example is my wife. She's so studious. She's an accountant. She's an attorney. She's just on top of everything, you know, 24/7. Mm-hmm. She's the perfect candidate for this. When it clicked with her, when the light bulb clicked, which didn't take her long at all, that's the person that, oh, okay, we can hand the ball to you.
Yeah.
You still are going to need some guidance as to how the whole parts move.
Yeah.
But that's anybody that can balance a checking account in their life and they're not too far in debt. All of us get a little bit in debt, come in and out of it. If you can be that person, you're a good candidate for what this is.
No,
Immediately,
yeah, everybody's a candidate, and everybody, Dave Ramsey's great, okay, but he just stops. Boom, he doesn't take it to the next level, which is
Agreed.
IBC. Here's a personal case study. This house right here, this house
Beautiful home, by
was
the way.
funded by policy loans. Okay, we lived in a house about, I don't know, 3 miles from here, and it worked out really well for us because this was 2010. What was going on in 2010?
Right.
Real estate was like
bottomed
bottomed out.
Nothing
Yeah.
was going on in 2010.
Well,
get a loan.
well, Nelson said,
Yeah, couldn't get a loan.
"Congratulations, we're moving out of the house. We're going to sell it to you." It's like, I'm not going to be able to sell my house. But anyway, so okay, we'll do it. So anyway, we agreed on buying this house. I put my house on the market, and we came out here and we started demoing the place. And I had a contractor. Well, I get an invoice every 2 weeks from the contractor for approximately $20,000 every 2 weeks. It was pretty consistent.
Yeah.
So every 2 weeks, I had a loan request going for the following 2 weeks for $20,000.
Right.
And back then, we had something like 15 or 20 policies, something like that. And so we'd sprinkle them around, and I try to keep it all in the one so I could account for it because it gets confusing after a while. But anyway, so I get a policy loan, deposit in the bank, write a check to the contractor, and didn't pay him back. Because I mean, we, a lot of expenses and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so it took a year to finish this house. When I say finish it, we remodeled it from the ground up. And so I think we had about $400,000 in policy loans.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much room we had.
Right.
That's
Okay.
great.
But
Yeah.
then, but
In 10, you couldn't get a loan.
yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah. I mean,
But you didn't need it.
I didn't need one. The last loan I took from the
You were
bank
going bank.
was in 1992. It was the last loan I ever took.
So key.
But anyway,
A lot of
so
people
we had the ability to live in our house, okay, and have this house totally built at a cost of $400,000 with no
Bank
okay.
loan.
No, don't get me wrong. Those policy loans were accruing interest, but it's, a policy loan is different than a bank loan because it's a simple loan,
Yep.
and it doesn't. When you buy it, the companies I was using, they pre-charge you the interest on the loan, and as long as you pay the interest back before the policy recast on the anniversary day of renewing the policy, then you can kill that before you recast the loan. But anyway, long story short is we had the freedom of living in that house, and I drive over here every morning and yell at the contractors because something was like, "Wait a minute, what are you doing?" I mean, like this deck, for example. I came over one morning and the deck was 2 feet higher. The roof was 2 feet higher. I'm looking at the plans going, so anyway.
Yeah.
So luckily,
We know how construction goes. Yeah.
and so back in April 27th, 2011, they had massive tornadoes come through Alabama. Okay, 5 o'clock in the morning, we had 2 of them come through this area here, and we had a lot of destruction because a lot of trees here, a lot of trees went down, and so the house I lived in, every time we had a storm, we lost power.
Right.
And I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning on April 27th, 2011, and I'm looking out my window because I'm getting ready to go run. I ran every morning with my group, and the rain was going horizontal, and I could hear boom, boom, boom as transformers were blowing. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going, man, this is bad. And so we settled down a little bit, and I said, man, I hope that new house is still there. And so like 10 o'clock-ish, I was able to drive over here, and perfect power, never lost power. And
That's
so
great.
we went ahead and took all our freezer, emptied the freezer out, put it in this house, all the refrigerator in this house. Oh, let's move a mattress over so we can sleep in air conditioning. And we moved in, never moved out. But anyway, so luckily, this house was fine. And my house was fine too, because we just lost power. But anyway, we finally sold that house. And so what did I do with them with the
What
equity?
year was that? How much longer did that take you?
Within like 2 months.
Okay, all right.
Sold the house, boom, gone. And so what I do with the equity of the house, wrote a check and wrote it back to, gave it back to the insurance company.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. But there was nothing magical about it. It's simple. I'm sure somebody who's a financial whiz can figure out how to do it more efficiently than I do it.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
So
That's
one
pretty
check
tight.
and we knocked off a lot of that loan, and then we built all that the next year. So guess where that money came from? Okay.
Same,
And
same
so-
money you used twice.
So
Yeah.
anyway, and Nelson sat here on the deck, right here on the porch, and he watched them cut all these trees down or whatever and start doing all this. He just sit there and watch it. And I don't know if you saw that picture. There's a picture on a lot of PowerPoints and a lot of YouTube videos of a pine tree, exposed. And Nelson talks about the rings and how the rings equal growth of an insurance policy, how small that ring is initially.
Right.
And every year the ring gets incrementally bigger. And he explained that was how these policies work. And that is the parable for uninterrupted compounding.
That's it.
Okay. And he sat right here and watched them do that. And when he cut down his pine tree, boom, he says, "Hey, tell him to go cut a slice of that and bring it over here." And so and he took a picture of it, and that's where that came from. But anyway, and so that leads me to the next thing. Nelson was all about being an honest banker. You know what that means?
Pay yourself back
Pay yourself back with interest,
with interest.
because you're an honest banker. Pay yourself back with interest. If you own the bank, okay, what is an asset and what's a debit for a bank? Is a savings account an asset or a debit?
Debit.
What's an asset? Your loan portfolio, right?
Yeah.
So you pay your back with interest because that is your loan portfolio. That's where you make the bank, quote unquote, with a small b.
That's it.
And so his big
Small
preaching
b.
was be an honest banker. Okay, and how do you be an honest banker? Well, you don't be afraid to capitalize.
Yep.
You buy as much life insurance as you can afford, and you fund it as much as you can fund it. You use the policies as much as you need to use them. You don't just use a policy alone just because you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Unless
right.
you have an investment, unless you have a debt or whatever. Okay. Well, when he got closer to passing, he changed his mantra from being an honest banker to have a place for windfalls.
Yeah.
You know what a windfall is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, so I'm sitting in my office back here one day, and he came over here every morning. I say, hey, he come over here and we drink coffee for a couple hours every morning. And I didn't go to his house because his coffee was lousy, but it was. He drank black coffee, like the Folgers right out of the,
Yeah.
Ugh. I like, I ground
Percolator.
I ground my
You like
coffee.
the process.
Yeah, well, I mean, anyway, so he come over here and he looked at me one morning and says, he goes, "How many policy loans do you have out right now? What's the total amount?" And I'm going, and remind me to tell you on how he communicated with people, how he emphasized what he thought was important. Remind me to tell you about that. Anyway,
Quiz form.
I'm sitting there, I'm going, oops. Because it was honest banker. And it wasn't I take policy loans and forget about them, but you fund them as you can.
Right.
And I wasn't the kind of guy that paid on monthly payment. I just chunks.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And pay back a policy loan in chunks. And I always made sure that if I had a policy loan that was outstanding, I always paid all that interest before the policy renewed.
Right.
For me, that's rule number one.
Yep.
Because I don't want to add to the principle to the base of the policy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Anyway, and he said, "How much you have?" I said, "Oh man, should I lie to him or should I be honest?" I said, "Well, it's around $500,000 in policy loans because we had a lot going on. Kids were in college and this and that and this and that." And he said, "Good."
Yeah. Right.
And that's his teaching method.
Yeah.
Good. It's like, okay, why is that good?
It's
If I'm
debt.
not being the honest banker. So he's sitting there waiting for me to ask him, but he's looking at me. So I go, "Why is that good?"
Yeah, right. I'm missing something.
Because
Yeah.
you need a place for windfalls.
Yep.
That's why.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm getting ready to be a windfall for you.
Yeah.
Well, my wife primarily, not me.
Yeah.
And I'm going, death benefit. He goes, absolutely. He goes, you need a place for a death benefit. Otherwise, you're going to blow it.
That's right.
Okay.
Gotta have a bucket to put it in.
You're going to blow it.
Yeah.
So you need to have a hole
Yeah.
big enough to put it in there.
Yeah, that's a big hole. Yeah.
But when it was all done with, after he passed and everything was done with, the hole wasn't big enough. Not because he had a bigger death benefit, it's because when you go through all this process of benefit checks and this and that, it's always more than you thought it was going to be, because they give you a return premium, they give you interest on your I don't know the exact terminology, the death benefit account balance from the day he was passed to the day the check was issued.
Right.
Yeah.
So all these little funds are like ding, 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 and every one of those death benefits was more than what I calculated all this stuff out. And so anyway,
That's a good problem.
so it's really good. It's a good
Yeah.
problem. And by the way, not taxable.
Right.
Oh, gee, that's
You know,
terrible.
and that's just that's kind of that's a benefit all in itself.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
So,
massive.
but anyway, so that's my life story with Nelson. Well, not really, but that's what I want to share in public. But
I want to bring up one point about the house. And you said you leveled it, except for what's behind us right here.
right,
Yeah.
Well, Nelson,
Yeah.
I mentioned to you guys earlier that Nelson was a real inquisitive individual, and he really loved to explore different things. Well, since he went to college on an Air Force ROTC scholarship, and he loved flying.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a paradigm of Nelson Nash that I never had figured out. And I asked him this question, and he answered it for me. But he loved to fly. He learned, one of the local guys there in Athens, Georgia, taught him how to fly. Well, Nelson knocked his two front teeth out landing an aircraft, and almost killing himself. But anyway, so he goes to Air Force ROTC, University of Georgia. Plus, he worked all the time to get himself to college. But when they offered him flight school, he turned it down because he only wanted to spend 2 years in the Air Force, and he wanted to get out because he was going to be a forester. Period. Because that was his major. You go through the science school and learn about all this scientific stuff with forestry and plants and botany.
He wanted to be outdoors. He didn't want to be on a tarmac.
Right. So now he's an Air Force second lieutenant with a forestry degree. So what do the Air Force do with somebody like that?
Seabees? No, I don't know what they do with
no.
Navy, brother.
World War II, man.
Oh,
Bombing assessment, target destruction assessment, and also when they come up with a target set and they do aerial reconnaissance on it, they look at it, the structure, and they say, okay, is it cement? Is it wood? Are there trees? How tall are the trees? How wide are they? Are they oak? Are they pine?
perfect.
And in the ground, is it sand? Is it rock? So they can pick the right munitions to destroy the target. And so they have a photo. They have I'm forgetting the name now, but they have a bomb assessment team, and they have foresters, architects,
Reconnaissance.
and geologists. And
Okay.
So they all work together, and they come up with, okay, this is what the target set is made out of, and the bomb guys figure out what the best munitions is to destroy that. So his 2 years in active duty, he was in March Air Force Base in California, and he hung out with architects, geologists, and of course he was the forester guy.
Mm,
And so anyway, he's inquisitive, so he started hanging out with these architects, and it's back to the house. And in California, they weekend trips and whatnot, and he fell in love with like Frank Lloyd Wright and those guys.
yeah.
Right.
He loved that stuff. And so when he bought this house, he worked on it continuously from 1963 until I tore it down. No, until I bought it.
Got to make your own
And
mark.
he come up with these brilliant ideas, and he go, man, he'd think about something, and then he'd take a piece of paper and write and do this and do that. Yeah, that's going to look good. And he'd go to Home Depot and buy a bunch of lumber, and you start banging on stuff. But the house,
Sounds like me.
so the house was different, to say the least. And so when Kim and I said, okay, we'll buy the house from you, and he and Mary moved into a garden home just right down the street. And I told him, I said, listen, I don't, if this is going to offend you, then don't sell it to us. But we're going to make some major modifications to the house. I'm talking about major. He goes, listen, it's your house. You do what you want to with it. Okay. So,
except for everything
so
I did.
it's like a dollhouse. Okay, it's got a front facade, two side walls, and the whole back is open. Well, this major construction was adding a whole back part to the house, almost doubling the square footage. So the first thing we did was they brought a bulldozer over and they knocked down everything he did and exposed this open house.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he came over and looked at it and he went. But before they did that, I mean, we had an architect, and she'd lay. I say, look at these plans. Okay, this is what the front's gonna look like. This is gonna back look like.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, here's the floor plan. Notice this wall's gone and this is gone. No. Yeah, whatever. Well, he didn't register. It wasn't him doing it. It was somebody else. So he didn't register. So yeah, we tore it down.
Yeah. Except for the fireplace.
Oh, the fireplace. Nelson, he built this fireplace stone by stone himself. And Kim can talk about that.
But yeah.
If you want her to.
He did a fantastic job, actually.
Well, I had a hard time stopping it from leaking. So,
well, there's
the architect,
small details.
The architect said, you need to tear it down, man. Get rid of it because it's really impeding my design. Get rid of it. And the builder said, you need to get rid of it. It's like, no. So anyway, so that's that. So
you built the house around it.
Yeah, house around.
Yeah.
So be an honest banker, have a place for windfalls.
Right.
Love it.
Okay.
Perfect. So important.
So those are important. And and so you have to have a policy or a system of policies that enable you to have a place for windfalls. Right. If you have one policy, you don't have any flexibility.
No.
If you have 25 or 26 policies, then you can be very flexible in how you manage those and how you do policy loans and how you fund them back.
Right.
Okay, and you can come up in an efficient way of doing that.
Yeah, over the time.
Okay. Yeah. So and the reason that Nelson advocated the permanent whole life product versus any kind of universal life or variable universal life is because of the guarantees.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a plan and you have a goal, then you have to have reasonable expectations if you're going to achieve that goal or not, based upon the guaranteed growth of these entities.
Yeah.
Or if you have something that's like a universal product, it's a different animal altogether.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Predictive growth, number one, and predictive.
It has to be sustainable. You
sustainable.
mentioned earlier. Get a policy that you can afford. And when I got my first policy, that was my primary. I need to know that I can meet my base every year on my worst day.
Right.
Right. Otherwise, if I can't do that, it's not. Then don't do it. It's not going to be a success.
No, I mean everybody should start with one policy, obviously, but I talked about lifestyle yesterday. Where I was going with that, I never completed my thought was I didn't buy a policy every year because I could, or every other year because I wanted to. I bought a policy based upon life events.
Right.
So if you have a child, if you do it right, when that child is released from the hospital after 2 days now, and they have their well baby checkup in 30 days, whatever it is, that goes in with a policy application for the child.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's lifestyle. Boom.
Right.
Okay. If you get a promotion at work and now you're making X number of dollars more a month.
Right.
Okay. Now I can afford another policy.
Perfect.
Boom. Because if you when that goes along with the don't forget to capital, or don't be afraid to capitalize.
Right.
Okay. If you have 10%, you tithe 10%. If you're not squirreling away 10%, in premiums, you're wrong.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so here's another. Nelson taught me how to solve problems that to life insurance also. I was in the military for quite a long time.
Mhm.
Okay, when you retire from the military, they have a survival benefits program you can sign up for.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Roughly.
What they do is if you have a spouse
Mhm.
and you get your retirement pay,
Mhm.
if you die, boom, your spouse get nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or if you sign up for a retirement benefit program, then they guarantee your wife 55% of
Yeah.
your retirement check until she's either up to like 80 years old, I think, or if she gets remarried.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a really good deal. But what they do is they deduct a certain a premium from your retirement pay to subsidize that thing. Well, all it is a term insurance policy.
Yeah.
And so you're paying X number of dollars. I mean, I can't remember the numbers. They deduct $200 a month to do that. So I sat down and I said, okay, instead of doing a survivor benefit thing where I'm going to reduce my retirement pay to subsidize my wife's lifestyle in case I pass,
Right.
I'm just going to take that same number
Right.
and buy a permanent whole life policy.
Pivot those funds there and just put them over here.
So I sat down and I said, okay, here's the number, Nelson. This is what every month. And so he designed me a policy and I bought it. It's not very big.
Right.
Yeah.
But my cash flow was the same.
Yep.
Okay, but it's not predicated upon my wife, me dying for her to get something, because that policy is in force and it's getting funded every year.
Right.
And that's part of the portfolio we used to build this house.
Right.
So I mean that was the mindset. That's how I was thinking. I was like thinking, okay, instead of doing that, this is how we have to do. This is how you do it. IBC world. Period. Boom. Right.
Love it.
So that's the thought process. That's the lifestyle.
That's the knowledge. Yeah.
Lifestyle. Okay, that's what I was talking about. And so we're at the point now. You know, I'm 70 years old, and they made me take Social Security. They made me take Medicare, and I gave up a really good medical plan called TRICARE, which is a secondary now, but Medicare, you know, whatever. So I mean, all this. So now, and we paid all our loans back.
Nice.
We don't have any debt, but you know, we did finance my son's house. He moved to Vestavia, 5 miles from here, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so he has a loan, but it's not from a third party; it's from his mother for that house. And so they do
There you go.
they got a bank transfer it's automatic, you know, deposit every month.
And that's exactly what we talk about on our channel is generational wealth.
So
keeping it within.
So my wife owns the title to his house.
Right.
Okay. Unfortunately, he wanted to deduct interest for tax purposes.
Right.
And I couldn't talk him out of it, so we had to register the loan with the county.
Oh, okay.
So we have to claim interest on the loan on our.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do that for my kid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't talk him out of it.
No.
Well, that's how kids are sometimes.
But anyway, that's how we think about it. And I think about it IBC all the time. Sometimes it's a nightmare. Sometimes it's a great dream.
Right.
It is, yeah.
But it's
what an amazing life, though.
I mean, it's
You've learned how to use money.
to show you what it's like now. When I talked about being very painful in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I'll do now is I will go online to these two different insurance companies. I'll look at the policy set and I'll see if I can put any more money in the policies, any more PUA.
Yeah.
Before I was like struggling paying premiums. Now it's like, okay, I want to get the money out of the bank and put it in these policy constructs.
Yeah.
So that's, like, oh, here, like $2,700 without making it.
Yeah.
Boom. Online.
Yeah.
You're always filling it to that MAC line. Yeah.
Well,
always.
But Kim will go, don't put it in that policy because that's one of them you're getting ready to give away to one of your kids.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah.
Oops. Yeah,
They have enough.
That's the beauty.
So I guess we're going to start giving policies away, just like Nelson did. Nelson gave us a bunch of policies. When I bought a policy on a kid, he'd buy the same policy on his grandchild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd have two of everything, and then he gave them to Kim. But when I say gave him, he just transferred ownership to him.
Transfer ownership.
Transfer ownership.
Right. Beautiful part about that too.
So we're getting ready to do the same thing. So the question is, should I transfer ownership with a policy loan on the policy, and take a policy loan and then give them the policy,
right.
so they can service the loan and pay the premium?
Pay the premium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go. I gave you a hole.
Yeah.
Fill it up.
Yeah, fill it up, man. They'll need a place to fill it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But it's a great problem to have too.
yeah, I mean,
It's like, wait a minute.
that's what
I
it's all about.
Yeah.
So,
Lifestyle. I like it.
Lifestyle.
Yep.
Well, Dave, I don't want to take any more of your day. You've been an amazing host and incredible storyteller. You should have your own channel. That was amazing.
I have one, but we haven't started it yet. Like,
Oh, okay, good. Well, we'll promote it. Let us know. Yeah, you're natural.
So anyway, that's
Yeah,
that's the story, man.
that's a great
And
story.
There's more to there's more there. I asked you to remind me of something too. What did I ask you to remind me of before I quit?
I don't know. Was it about?
But yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's okay. That'll be our next,
But anyway,
next video out.
I mean, life's good. I can't, it really is very good.
The freedom that IBC affords people is so natural. But once you live in it I'm just starting out. I've only been at, I don't know, 6-8 months or whatever, somewhere in there. But in a math way, it equates. I get it. The light bulb moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know where I'm going to be in 10 years.
Well, we think of it as like I said, a place to work your wealth. I mentioned that earlier, but it's the foundation to launch from. Like if you want to buy crypto, then that's where the dollars come from to buy it.
Right.
If you want to buy real estate, that's where the dollars come from. If you want to buy cars, you want to service debt, whatever, that's where it starts, and the money flows through there.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where it is.
So
It comes back.
Comes right back.
right, it comes back.
It comes right back.
Yeah.
Over time.
Right.
It's such a powerful life tool.
Yeah.
I'm amazed, and I'm so glad that you guys are keeping it real and honest in the way the man created it. And I know your daughter's going to do an incredible job keeping this legacy going forward.
Well, it's,
Sure she will.
Keep it real, keep it consistent. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Nothing
Right.
fancy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
All right, Dave, I
Okay.
appreciate your time.
thank you, man.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
And we'll be hopefully one day doing some more stuff with Dave. And with that, guys, I am out.